Hello. So I'm supposed to be writing, but I figured I would get into the mood by doing some more of these one-word Q&As. So Lonnie Scott throws necromancy at me. Uh, awesome word. Who doesn't love a little necromancy? So, what can I say about this that hasn't already been said? In my own practice, I emphasize going to the boneyard a lot more than conjuring in the temple. And I'm speaking specifically here on working with the dead, not the sort of larger necromancy, which is sort of all black magic or evocation. But I really like dragging the was or a rod out to the graveyard, drawing a circle on a grave, and doing it simply with as minimal kit as possible, so that should I have to run in the middle of the night, uh, I can just take off and avoid a fine. Uh, you know, Back in the day, it was like $35. Don't ask me how I know that. Uh, so if you can't get a grave, then sometimes you can go to where someone lived, or even the area that they're associated with. When I lived in the New Jersey, I went to the area of the Pines that Peggy Clevenger was rumored to live in, because nobody knows exactly where she's buried. Uh, Here, there are plenty of graves of people that I can visit and conjure at night, because the graveyards are out of sight. But that may not be possible where you are. Although I managed to do it in Philadelphia, right in the city, several times without you know, without anyone noticing. Um, so get out there, get to know your local boneyard. Uh, that's sort of the biggest thing. The other thing is what really constitutes necromancy. Um, Paul Hewson divides necromancy of intelligence and necromancy of love, or amatory necromancy. So he has sort of a more or less straightforward evocation of the dead for necromancy of intelligence, which is awesome. And he gives a dumb supper that I've done many times. Uh, Even wrote a script for Thalasis that I think was still being performed there as of a few years ago, at least. And that too is wonderful. It's the calling through bonds of love and appreciation and offering, rather than conjuration by name and compelling. Both of those have their place. To this, I would add necromancy of action, which is essentially just spells using the name of the deceased as a compelling word or a power word. Uh, an example that many people will be familiar with is from the latest Sabrina show. In the first season, they performed an exorcism calling upon the ghosts of witches past, which I know people have worked that exact script, and I wouldn't work the exact script, but it's certainly a good idea to build something like that. Anytime someone is working with a saint, necromancy of action, if you're calling upon a saint. So these are just sort of things to think about when it comes to necromancy. Uh, Next word in here is astral. Woo! So people think of astral as like somewhere else. They're leaving, they're transcending the earth realm. And astral does mean the stars. That's where we get the name from, the idea that we're projecting outwards. But I've always thought more in terms of peeling back a layer of the right here and now. So the astral realm is not really somewhere else. It's a different layer of where we are. And there are multiple layers of where we are. So if we can think of the astral as this sort of place that is extremely subtle, extremely mutable, based upon consciousness and will and so on, and the physical is something that's really firm, then perhaps something like the meridians of acupuncture and the channels, the nadis and prana of yoga is in this etheric space that it's not quite astral. It requires sort of physical muscle movements and breath to get things moving there, but it's also not physical. You can't, you can't go and get an MRI of your nadis, at least not yet. So uh, then beyond there, if you don't automatically hate everything that Theosophists ever touched, there are concepts of more subtle layers beyond there, mental layers and informational layers, and these all play a role in my practice and thinking about other practices. So uh, there we are. Uh, that's 2 words, and that's good enough for this morning. Thank you so much.